Welcome to UX Patter Season 3, where I, Dushyant Kanungo, talk to the leaders in the design field about their journey and what inspires them to be the best. I also touch upon the aspects of the industry such as jobs, trends, and challenges, to name a few. This podcast is presented by Galaxy UX Studio and powered by Galaxy Weblinks, an Inc. 5000 company. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the new episode of the UX Banter podcast. I am Dushyant Kanungo, your host. Today, we have a design leader, tech wizard with a love of lattes. He's a UX professional who orchestrates a symphony of creativity across brands, products, UI, UX, and marketing. He crafts experiences that bridge business goals and user satisfaction. He is shaping digital dreams one pixel at a time, powered by caffeine and curiosity. Please welcome our today's guest, the UX Director of CreateApe, Zachary Newton.
Hey, nice to meet you. Happy to be here.
Welcome on the show once again, Zach. Glad that we finally got to record the episode.
I know, same here. It's been a little bit. We had to push it back a couple times, but I'm happy we could make it work.
Right. So Florida, huh?
Yeah, absolutely.
So how is life there? And what journey did you took to become the designer or the creative person that you are right now?
Life is nice right now. It's a little hot. We've got some hurricanes brewing out in the ocean, but other than that, I can't complain too much. As far as kind of how I got here, I guess that journey that I took to become a designer, I find it interesting. Others might not find it quite as interesting. When I was actually a kid, I started out learning like criminal science, things like that. I wanted to be a crime scene investigator or a forensic analyst, or actually traditionally I wanted to be a medical examiner. But after hearing all of the years that I'd have to go to school for that, I decided I don't want to do that. I want to do something different. So there was kind of like a natural progression as I was getting into high school where I got involved with production. So live production, audio engineering, sound engineering, lighting engineering, all of that good stuff. Basically, if you go to a concert, it's everything that you see and everything that you hear. Like that's what I really got started out in, and I think that's where I really started to go down this path in the creative field and in the design field. From that opportunity, I kind of had a few other things that came up over the years that have pivoted me a little bit, and eventually, I got to a point where I was learning how to develop things, and alternatively, I wanted to make sure that those things that I was developing were things that looked good and functioned well from a user's perspective. And that's kind of actually how I got into design. So I started with development first and then pivoted to design because I really wanted to work on products that I thought was fun, that I enjoyed, and the best way I could have a hand in how they looked, how they functioned, how they worked and were perceived was from the design side of things, followed by some development. So that's kind of how I got started and got to where I am today.
But that has been quite a journey. I mean, you started off someplace else, now you are doing UX and other stuff. Do you think
Mhm.
your past experiences affect the way that you function in your current role? I mean, what are the key takeaways that you think that come from, say, video or stage production, audio engineering, or your interest in those crime scene investigations?
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing that's been pretty consistent with me ever since I was a kid was I always wanted to ask the question why. I always wanted to figure out the reasoning behind something. As I was initially learning some elements of crime scene investigation, part of the courses I had to take were around psychology, so that there's a little bit of obvious overlap there when it comes to psychology and design. But really just trying to get at the core of issues, get at the core of problems, I do feel helps me. I mean, I find today, one of the things I tell a lot of people, even if they're just doing like a user interview or something like that, or a stakeholder interview, right? Ask why 3 times, ask why 5 times. You may have heard that before, but you really got to kind of dig at something from a few different angles to get the answer that you're looking for. And so I think there are some elements of that carry over today. Outside of that, just generally from like my time doing audio engineering and lighting engineering, I feel that the experience I have there, instead of really guiding me on what I do now, really helps kind of round out my skill set. I'm able to look at not just the visuals of a product, but the audio of it, right? Like, how does that sound? How do we make this feel more natural to the person using it? Even things like that, I find are helped a little bit by that experience.
And with all that, you just mentioned something about having to go to school was a big hindrance. So all the
Mhm.
things you have learned, I believe you are a self-taught professional in every single field that you have been working on till date.
Yes, that is correct. Everything I have done or do today is something that was self-taught. Anything when it comes to, video editing, specifically design and development, it's all been self-taught. At least, I haven't been educated in the traditional sense. I had initially gone to college for maybe a couple of semesters, just doing the basics, and I decided it was not something I wanted to do, not something I wanted to invest either time or money into. And so I immediately dropped out. But yes, since high school, I've been educating myself around, how to develop, how to design, how to do these different things using, well, one, practice, which is great. Another thing was finding some mentors that kind of helped me along in those journeys. So I did, whether they know they were mentors or not, I did have a few mentors that kind of helped guide me early on. And then it's really just, being hungry to educate yourself. So reading books, watching videos, reviewing what other people do, how they do it, breaking that down to understand why they made decisions they made. I found that all of that has helped me a lot and has enabled me to be more hands-on in my learning than I think I would have been traditionally.
And do you think the level of discipline which is needed when you are self-learning to define the career, even if you're interested in something, it takes a lot of determination, the courage, and the discipline. Well, everything requires it, but in comparison with going for a formal education in the same industry or business line.
Yeah, no, I definitely think that's the case. I always joke around and say I'm addicted to learning, right? Like that's like you've always got to have that hunger, got to have that drive to want to educate yourself, to want to understand what you don't know and learn what you don't know. So I definitely do think that there's a drive that you have to have there. Yeah, I mean, look, stay hungry. Like even today, I know I'm not an expert in everything, and I try to seek out what I don't know so I can go learn it.
This is a brilliant piece of advice that you have to keep learning all your life. I think I've heard that somewhere that learn as if you're going to live forever and live as if you're going to die tomorrow.
Yep.
It actually sums up the philosophy that anybody who is in the field of any professional front, I think updating the knowledge and information always going to be there, and we have to follow. Well, at this stage, I'm going to go back to a bit of a fun about learning. So the learning,
Okay.
but now we want to learn more about you.
All right, let's do it.
All right. So your favorite mobile phone app.
Oh, my favorite mobile phone app. That's an interesting one. I'm gonna zag and I'm just gonna say X. So formerly known as Twitter, I'm gonna say X. I don't use it that much, but I love that I can go on there and just instantly get access to companies and updates and whatever I really want, whether it's news, politics, anything, without having to go digging for it.
Are you a cook?
No, I am not. Definitely not.
What is your favorite dish?
Ratatouille.
Fantastic. So go out or stay in?
Stay in.
Order food? I mean, staying in and ordering.
If I am ordering food in, it's probably gonna be Chick-fil-A.
All right. Okay. If you win $10 million today, what is the first thing that you're going to buy?
A home.
Okay. Your least favorite job till date.
My least favorite job. I don't think in favorites that much. That's a tough one. I've kind of enjoyed every job that I've had, even the small ones. I used to be back in the day, I was a janitor at a nail salon. That was my little high school job at first. If I had to pick a least favorite just for the activities, it would probably be that one.
All right.
Though it was fun. I got to spend some time with my cousin. He owned the shop at the time.
You live in Florida, but still I have to ask your favorite holiday destination.
St. Augustine. It's still in Florida, but it's a little farther north. It's like 4 hours north of where I am, and it's amazing during the holidays. Great weather, great atmosphere, great lights. I love it.
Oh, if you were a superhero, what would be your superpower?
That's not what I thought you were going to ask me. I thought you were going to ask which superhero would I be. So if I had to, break this down to a superpower.
I'm not giving you backstory.
Yeah, yeah. Let's think here. Let's think here. I'll go with super speed.
Okay. So travel anywhere quickly.
Yeah, why not? Let's do that.
Excellent. Books or movies?
Books.
Your favorite book then?
I just finished reading The Divine Comedy, and it's a great book. It's very dense and very hard to read. It's from I'm gonna butcher the last name, but Dante Alighieri. He's an Italian poet from way, way, way back in the day. But great read, great book, very entertaining. I liked it.
So, on the topic of books, let me pull in a little plug here. So, I have written a book called UX Decoded. Uh,
Nice.
it's available on Amazon, putting it out there.
Awesome. I'll take a look at it.
All right. So, with that, I have conclusion of these cards. So I'm going to put them on the side here. While we were talking about UX and the multiple domains as they are affecting the business these days, I mean, there is a width or a breadth of platforms which
Mhm.
offer you solutions which are pre-developed and which are generally called low code, no code platforms. So, do you think, in terms of UX, how does that impact a custom solution that you're building? Or what are your thoughts about them? I know that you are passionate about them, and would you like to share your thoughts about how does everything fits in with the user's perspective?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting question. So I personally am a fan of low code, no code solutions. I think it's a great way to move quickly, to iterate, to test. I think at a certain point you may need to go to a custom solution, but using tools like Webflow or Flutterflow, for that matter, are two of my favorite low code, no code solutions. They let you build either websites or applications, and I've used them both in my well, I mean, Flutterflow is kind of new, but I've used them both. I enjoy them. I I think generally speaking, a lot of these low code, no code solutions, there are a lot out on the market. I mean, we know of others like Wix and Squarespace and things like that. But as far as I guess how they kind of have impacted the industry, I think what they're really doing is they're raising the floor, right? Like if you look at UX back in the day when it, really first started to become a thing, I would venture to say there was a lot of poor UX out there. Like there was a lot of bad designs because it was something that was new, and so the bar was really low, right? And now that we have a lot of these tools, like we have so much data, and these companies are building with a lot of data. They understand what works and what doesn't work, and so they are working to create I guess a high baseline, right, of UX. So a lot of the things that we might have caught back in the day aren't as much of an issue. They still are. They still can be, but it's a little less of an issue now. And I think, what that means is it opens up the opportunity for a lot of businesses to get off the ground and get started. And, I think in the end, as those businesses begin to scale, begin to move past what the little Squarespace site might be able to do for them or whatever other solution they're using, like they may need to move into a custom solution. And so I think at that point we do have a nice foundation to build off of. And tools like this lets us focus on what matters, I think, a little bit more because we're less concerned about manually adjusting every single little thing. And this is kind of my perspective on AI as well. But these tools let us, I guess, get to our end results a little quicker and test and iterate versus spend a tremendous amount of time designing something, sending that off to a developer, developing the thing, going through rounds of quality assurance just to get it back. Maybe be happy with it, maybe not be completely happy with it. And now it's been a month versus what could have been 3 days.
Yes, right. So, from a designer's perspective, I do a lot of mentoring on ADP list as well, and we do hire freshers at our organization too. And either of the cases, there is a big change in the attitude that I've found is just saying that I am a UX designer or a UI designer. We get a lot of people who are, there are people,
Intimidated? Or
no,
so
no,
we
striving to be product designers. The word product itself is bringing in a lot of weight to the profession now. UX design is not just your, it is in the hierarchy where you started as a webmaster to graphic designer to web graphic designer, web designer, UX designer, or UI designer. Now it has all gone to a place where everybody wants to go into that product niche. And these smaller things about the e-commerce website and stuff, they are already relying on if it can be sent away to a low-code platform, and they can actually
Hmm.
work with the startups to bring the products at the front. I mean, in the end, any product organization, if they want to build their customer-facing website just for the promotional purposes, they would just go to a low-code platform and build something quickly and focus more time and resources towards the product, which might require a lot of time and focus and dedication and design and testing and everything.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I agree with that, right? Like I think a lot of it is we're migrating to where the more complicated problems are, right? Because again, if you think about, I guess, just the natural progression of our tooling and I mean, even AI as well, like it's able to help us solve the simpler problems and the problems that we typically face on like a marketing website or an e-commerce website is not as complicated as what you're going to face when you're dealing with a large application, SaaS application, whatever the case may be, that hundreds or thousands or millions of users are going in and using every day. That, there are mission critical things there. Like you don't want to have that risk. You need that extra level of detail and focus to it. And I don't think a lot of the tooling that we have is there yet.
Yes, certainly. So, as a design leader, things come and go, trends and designations come and pass. And in your case, a lot of skill set has been shuffled around as you reach where you are.
Hmm.
So, as things come and go, the technology gets updated. What is your take? I mean, what your team does differently to ensure that you are up to the mark, up to the trends, and stay updated and make sure that you are up with the competition when it comes to delivering any product or service?
This may kind of sound corny, but we do try and stay on the cutting edge of things. So we're looking at the technology that's out there in the market and we're doing our best to try and adopt it and figure out how we can utilize it. Because if you become stagnant, I do believe that you will fail. So if you look at, and again, I'll throw the topic of AI out there. If you look at a lot of the tools and solutions that are coming from artificial intelligence, I know people who have had agencies, not exactly what we do, but similar to what we do, that have on to sell their businesses because, the tools are getting good enough that they're kind of being rendered obsolete. And, I think the big pivot that you need to make as a creative or an agency is not to be afraid of these tools, figure out how to adopt them because I think the world that we're going to live in at some point in the future is going to be we're going to orchestrate how these things all work together. So we're not necessarily going to be the one doing the what I would call like the busy work in some places. You're going to have these other tools that are more efficient at doing that quote unquote busy work. And you're going to be there like the musical director, making sure that everything moves into its own piece, into its own place. So I mean that's kind of where I think that's gonna go. I'm not sure if that quite answered your question though.
No, it does absolutely. I was about to bring up AI in the conversation. I mean, can you believe? Now, let me share a bit of a trivia about something which is related to India. So, back in 1985 to 87, when the government decided that they are bringing in computers to the country, there were mass rallies and protests across some of the states at that time. And people were on the streets, and the strike is very violent at that time. And everybody was like, if we bring computers to India, the computers will take the jobs away. And what we are going to do, because a lot of people are office workers, India is not a business economy, but a service
Hmm.
economy. In that
Yeah.
case, you are never going to, be able to feed everybody or give jobs to everyone. Now, more than 30, 35 years later, can you imagine India without IT?
Yeah. It's crazy. It's blown up. I don't know, personally know much about the history, but yeah, I mean it's interesting hearing that, knowing how, involved with technology India is.
Absolutely. And I'm always surprised when people are scared of AI. And I personally think that everything considered, it gives you the perspective about how the information is going to be translated. It is how it is going to be rendered, how many data points you can consider to give an answer. It provides you a way into providing custom solutions to your end user. I mean, it could be in the future. Now on Netflix, you select language option, but I
Mhm.
think in the future you may select the actor. So the actors get paid to put their hat in the ring. So if I do want to watch, well, the future made Terminator with Sylvester Stallone, why not? I'm paying for it, and
Yeah.
you just render it and deliver. What's wrong with that?
Yeah. I've heard of similar stories to that. I think I don't know if it's a real thing yet, but I've heard there's this movie theater. There is an idea about movie theaters where you can go in and using AI, you could basically paint yourself as one of the main actors. So let's say you're going to go watch Harry Potter in theaters, but you want it to be Harry Potter. You're paying for the ticket, you go in, you could have your face on the screen as Harry Potter. So I think there's some interesting things like that. I know personally, I would never go watch a movie where somebody else is portraying an actor that and they're not really doing that job. At least I want to say that and think that that's going to be the case whenever this does happen. But I find the idea and the technology, the fact that it could be feasible, I find that pretty impressive.
Amazing. And what about the idea of two people going to a cinema together and watching two different movies?
That, yeah, I mean, that see at that point, just stay at home, go buy the Apple Vision Pros, and just go throw some headphones on, and you're good to go. But yeah,
Wow.
I could see something like that happening.
So large data sets are definitely going to be coming in. Every organization that we are actually seeing is, talking about doing something new or the other. Last year, we went to GITEX in Dubai. It's a global conference, and
Mhm.
I can tell you the entire focus was on a lot on, well, blockchain and Bitcoin side of things, and cryptocurrency was taking center stage. But smarter cities,
Yeah.
5G rollout, it happened during that period in Dubai, was causing, or they are talking a lot about it, including those flying taxi services that you can actually order from your phone and you can actually go. So I'm really excited to see that what they have to showcase this year with all Apple Vision Pro adverts
Yeah.
coming. I'm excited to see if people are already designing something and bringing in products about it.
That would be very interesting. I have not looked much into that, but I've heard a few things here and there.
You should check it out. I think there are a few things which got really my real attention was the fact that when the Disney Plus promo came in and they were saying that now you can watch a game differently. So the
Hmm.
game is on the screen and the player stats are on the one side and the game stat on another, and you can actually watch the replay on your table in a virtual playground as a 360-degree angle that what happened, whether it was a
Wow.
foul or a goal or whatnot. So I think if you apply the same tech in other fields, so other fields such as maybe education, so you can have a classroom where everybody is there. I know it is going to be a very elite classroom with everybody with those expensive VR goggles.
Yeah.
But still thinking about that, how tech is going to be a mainstream because the first quarter of this decade has been mind blowing. I mean, can you imagine that from 2000 to 2025, which is yet to come, we have just transformed as a society, transformed the
Hmm.
entire planet with the tech that we have at hand. And I wonder what the next 25 will be, even though there are a lot of problems going around the world, which has always been the case. Uh,
Yeah.
all right. So coming back to you, I mean, the discussion I wanted to center around you, and we just went into some other direction. So you also host a podcast or two.
I do. Yeah, I do. A few. I have a like movie, TV show review podcast, and I have a business interview show. So it's kind of like this format, a little different, but yeah, those are the two primary ones that I run.
Excellent. So what about the review? Do you invite other guests to review movies and TV shows with you?
No, not for that one. So for that podcast, it's myself and my co-host Mario, who we have certain shows that we watch. We like to watch. Granted, a lot of them right now are on Apple. And we're just kind of going through and doing some deep dives on those. And it's been getting a lot of good traction. Plus it's very fun. It's nice to be able to kind of dive deep into a show that you have.
So best one right now is
Silo's over, but Silo was amazing.
thinking about Foundation. What do you think about that?
Foundation is one that we're currently covering. Season 2 is much better than season 1. It's a hard show to get into. You have to be a real sci-fi nerd to get into it, but once you're in, I find that it is really good. Season 2 has not disappointed at all. Nearly every episode has topped the previous one. So that one's a great one. Invasion is doing good as well.
Yeah, the challenge is it not just transcending months or years, it is just transcending generations when you actually
Yes.
watch it. And that is what makes it the most difficult show. First to make and then second to actually watch. And
Yes.
anybody who has not heard about the book series or read any synopsis about it beforehand or some basic knowledge, if not reading the books, they will be completely lost if they are not prepared. And what about the
Absolutely.
other podcast that you have, the business podcast?
So the other podcast is called the Soapbox Business Show, and that is again the format is kind of similar to this, but what we do is we again, same co-host Mario and myself, we will interview other business professionals, mostly people that own their own business, run their own business,
Mhm.
because we do believe, regardless of the industry that they're in, there's some information that you're able to, obtain from that conversation that can help out wherever you are really. So, we've interviewed people from AI experts that are building their own artificial intelligence solutions to, food reviewers, food critics, if you will, and even into the realm of like colorists and photographers that will shoot for F1 and things like that. So it's been pretty fun.
Excellent. So if you're on YouTube, you will find the links to both the podcasts. And I hope that you guys would like to like and subscribe those podcasts as well. If you're enjoying UX banter, you have Zach here. So I think it would be, wonderful show to be on. All right. So while we are wrapping up the conversation, I see that there were a lot of takeaways from this conversation as we were talking about that how the journey could be coming in from multi skills, backgrounds, and thresholds. But then self learning is always going to be the way to get ahead of the competition. What are your core advices, or what would you advise to people who are following in and just starting the career and want to get there where you are right now? That would be wonderful.
Yeah, I think like the biggest thing is going to be to be hungry, whether you're teaching yourself or you're going through traditional education, right? Like there's always going to be other things that you need to learn. So ask why, try and understand the reasons behind things, go read books, go purchase your own courses that focus on specific things from people that are actively working in the field, not to knock educators, but there's been many situations where what I've seen taught in the classroom is dated or is just, I mean, it's really no longer relevant. And so just try to stay relevant, be hungry, learn on your own, be hands-on. I think those things combined are what's going to help you excel and get up to speed very quickly in the industry.
Excellent advice. So thank you very much, Zach, for joining us
Thank
today
you.
for this episode. And I'm very excited that this conversation happened. I have gone through a couple of your episodes on your podcast and I'm loving it. And hope
Thanks.
that you get more viewers, we get more listeners, and I hope the people who are joining in are enjoying the conversation here. Thanks to you once again. I will hope to see you soon.
Same here. Thanks for having me on.
All right. So thanks, everyone. That was Zachary Newton joining us from Florida. And stay tuned. We'll be back with the next episode next week. So have a good day ahead. Bye.